So for everyone knows Spotify, it's the well-known global music streaming platform, pioneered the way that we now listen to music that has spread to Apple Music and YouTube Music, etc. Longtime CEO, one of Europe's, I think, most famous business executives, and he's not stepping away from the company entirely, Jason. He's handing off the CEO role to two lieutenants, and he's going to become executive chairman of the board, which he says in a note is a more active role than Americans are accustomed to. And he wants to go help build more big companies in Europe. So good. And I'm glad he's doing that. Shout out to him. Long tenure. Well done. But what I wanted to ask about, Jason, is when is it time for a founder to either change their role or step back from a company? Because we don't see this often. We like to talk about founder-led businesses. Founders Fund, of course, likes to back companies that are only led by founders. And in this case, he decided it was time. So in your experience as an investor, when is it the right time for a founder to shake up or step back?
Well, let's pull up Spotify stock chart just while I collect my thoughts here and take a look at the max chart here. This has been an incredibly successful company. But it took a long time. I was on Spotify when it was not legal in the US yet. Somebody had gotten me an account, I won't say who, that I could use with my VPN. And it was a mind-blowing experience to have all you could eat streaming music for one price. And man, there were a dozen of us who had these hacked accounts. I won't say how we got them because I won't get anybody in trouble, but statute of limitations. Or we might have had these hacked accounts. I don't know. Allegedly, we might have. Or maybe I'm misremembering, actually, now that I think about it.
It was actually my cat. My cat had the account.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. It was, we were hallucinating. And so then they had a great second act, which was adding podcasting. So really two great acts, and they bought a bunch of podcasting assets, did a great job on that. The amount of time, the amount of paid users, the amount of free users, the advertising base, really a revolutionary product. Some people don't like the product or the history of the company because, as Oasis was saying, people will go out and buy 2 cups of coffee for $40 in a cafe with a croissant, and they won't spend $10 on a CD and have it for life. It's very frustrating for musicians that era ended, but it also, for the up-and-coming musicians who weren't accustomed to selling DVDs and having that revenue stream where, hey, 1 million people bought your CD and you got $4 as the musician, $3 net at the end of the day as the musician. It was like, okay, yeah, you just made $3 million, or you sold 10 million, made $30 million. This was big money back in the day, especially for double albums. Brothers in Arms did incredibly well by Dire Straits with the CD revolution. Smashing Pumpkins, Infinite Sadness, a double album, which then you make twice as much money on. This was an incredible money printing machine, and it went down to a trickle. But for the next generation, they got incredible fame instantly. They could release a track on a Friday and then be headlining a music festival 3 months later. Like we saw with Chappell Roan, Pink Pony Club, and these songs. She was singing Pink Pony Club 2 years before she was the second headliner at ACL, Austin City Limits here. I saw it with my daughter and my wife. It was incredible. She was literally playing malls 2 years earlier with the same song. So the velocity at which you can become Chappell Roan went back. So there's that. It really did democratize being a musical star, and it changed how you make money. You had to be resilient. You had to have some inner resources to say, okay, I'm not going to make money off the CDs, but for Chappell Roan, she never did. I'm going to make it touring, which is why Oasis just did a tour. And when they ended it at Wembley, Liam said, see you next year. Because he knows that if they want to make money, they're not going to go into the studio and do an album. They're just going to show up next year and sell out Wembley for 10 shows and bag, hundreds of millions of dollars, like the billions of dollars Taylor Swift did. So Daniel Ek, if you look back on it, he basically reinvented 2 industries. Podcasting also changed. If it wasn't for Spotify doing these huge money deals with Joe Rogan, Bill Simmons, buying up all this stuff, they really did popularize and maybe accelerate the podcasting space by 30%, 40%, perhaps, I would say something there. And the music industry, they completely revolutionized. So what an incredible run to impact 2 huge industries like that. Again, disruption never easy. But what an amazing career.